Trey Sermon waived. Blake Hance claimed. The practice squad is filling up, and we've got a very special guest here today to talk about it on Locked On 49ers, John Chapman, and it is on live right now.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker with you as always at BD Peacock, at Eric_Crocker on Twitter. And if you're watching this on YouTube live, you know there's another face on the screen. Today we've got the great John Chapman of 49ers Rush. He's going to tell us about the road trip stuff later. I want to make sure that you do get that in because I think we all might need to meet up in some city that is not Santa Clara at some point during the 2022 season. But big news happening with the San Francisco 49ers. I do want to thank everybody for making us your first listen, by the way, here on Locked On 49ers every day on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. It is what we do. And there's no rest when you cover the San Francisco 49ers, right, John? And we thought, okay, we're going to just have some claims in. Maybe the Niners lose a player or two, sign a couple of guys. But no, we had a big bomb that dropped today with Trey Sermon being waived by the Niners 16 months after being drafted.
I think that the 49ers front office forgot the scheduled protocol. They started early with the Jimmy G news right before the cuts started happening. Then you go through it and you're like, okay, cool. We have a grasp on this 2022 season. And they're like, nope, not quite yet with the Trey Sermon news, which sadly, I wish the best for Sermon. I think it's best for him to go elsewhere anyway. I don't think he was a great fit. I don't think he ever really matched what they are doing. And so I think it's a good move on, especially with the Jordan Mason news. But yeah, it's been a crazy 48 hours, man. And excited to go through this with you two guys. Big fans of the show, big fan of what you guys do for the community. So very happy to be here.
JaMycal Hasty was claimed by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Nate Sudfeld heading to the Detroit Lions. Thanks for the heads up there in the chat on some of those. So I did get those mentioned. Did you
I still don't understand the Hasty. I don't understand releasing Hasty. I know I've been kind of stuck on that. I look at the running back room, and I like it. I feel like it's talented guys in there, but it's missing a Hasty.
Yeah.
If you were gonna cut Sermon the next day, it would have made sense to carry Hasty. Make sure you have a very different back on the roster. But they kept 4 tailbacks last year plus Juszczyk, so 5 total running backs. This year, I projected they were going to keep an extra one because they have so many injuries. You want to have that covered, right? And so it made sense that they were going to break with 5. And then when they cut Hasty, I thought, okay, well, that's that. They're not going to do anything with Sermon. Maybe they thought they could work out a trade over the course of the last 24 hours. They were not able to, and then decided to cut Trey Sermon. So we'll see if he signs on somewhere very quickly. I would guess, I think there's zero chance Trey Sermon, by the way, signs back with the 49ers practice squad if he goes unclaimed. I'm sure he wants a fresh start somewhere, and he probably deserves it. And look, he was the 6th best running back on the 49ers roster this preseason.
Who do you guys think is going to be the third down guy now? Yeah, we saw Hasty last year kind of dominated that role. Is it going to be? I think it's Jeff Wilson.
Yeah,
we kind of saw it a few years ago.
I think Elijah Mitchell could be the every down back. Period. I think that might be what we see is that it's Elijah Mitchell all day, every day until he needs a rest. Then it's Jeff Wilson, who's the main back, short yardage work for Ty Davis Price, maybe. I don't even know if Jordan Mason can play special teams. Maybe he'll have to have a uniform on game days. Maybe he doesn't sometimes because they have a lot of players who can play special teams. And that was something that they, was a priority this offseason, bringing a lot of guys in there. And I think that was one of the extra reasons that Jordan Mason was able to make the roster, because if you're going to be RB4, can you play special teams? And Jordan Mason can. Yeah. And I think that Elijah Mitchell is a good enough receiving back that he can get the work. And I think Jeff Wilson's a good enough receiving back to get the work. And I think in the end, when the 49ers looked at Hasty, they thought, well, maybe he's a little bit better there, but is he good enough that we're not going to keep one of these other guys? And so that's why they said no to Hasty. I liked Hasty. I would have kept him, but I just still don't know how many touches there was going to be for him. And then Ray McLeod's your returner, so you don't really need Hasty there. It was just like,
I thought Hasty was a better returner. at least in preseason, what we saw, I was very underwhelmed with Ray McCloud as a return man, especially for a guy who was coming in and it's like, hey, oh man, he's going to improve your special team so much. I watched him. I'm like, man, I don't see it. I don't even see a flash of anything that was any type of dynamic. He looked very indecisive. Maybe it's preseason. Some people might say, well, it's preseason. You don't want to go full speed. It's like, dude, if you're not going full speed, that's how you get hurt. Mm-hmm. It looked a little weird. Hopefully, come week 1 against Chicago Bears, it looks different with him as a return guy.
One thing that I thought was interesting watching the special teams film, like Hasty and Mason played the exact same positions. First half, Hasty was everywhere special teams. They subbed Mason in for the exact same position, punt protector, the second row return, all those different things. And it was just like, I don't know why I didn't pick up on it at the time that this is an either or, which kind of makes me believe Hasty, especially without Dante Johnson coming back. Who else has played like punt protector, like the immediate besides Dante Johnson? Hasty was taking those snaps. Mason was taking those snaps. Malik Turner was taking this. They did get him back. So I guess that might answer it. But who's going to be active on game day, right? Or do you call all 5 running backs with use check there?
It's tough. And right now, if Mason is going to be that core special teamer, he's got to be up on game day. And your 1 and 2 are. So is Ty Davis Price, a rookie 3rd rounder? Does he have sweats on game day?
They did it to Sermon last year.
For another 3rd round running back, right?
Oh, people are going to be pissed.
BSC in the chat brings up a great point about Jeff Wilson, not only hands, but a good pass blocker. And that's, if you want to be on the field on 3rd downs, you have to be able to pass protect as well as catch the ball.
Did any of you or either of you see that it was like a list of 49ers that were like drafted running backs and the money that they invested in the backs and then the undrafted guys?
Got it right here.
Not to toot our own horse, Peacock, but that was what we were trying to get to, right?
Well, look, I'm going to just stay out of this because it's like beating a dead horse when it comes to running backs and overpaying running backs and not chasing running backs in the draft, not paying them a lot in those second contracts. So the tweet you referenced here from Ari Merov, I'm going to put up on the screen and I'm going to let you guys tell the people. And John, you can start why you shouldn't spend too many resources.
Here we go. Pain is about to ensue, my friends. Watch your eyes. And the whole idea is this, like, we've seen Dad Shanahan, we've seen Kyle Shanahan have so much, success with these back end guys, these undrafted free agents. It's the system, right? It's a system. Yet for some reason, whenever they reach or trade up for an absolute stud running back, quote unquote, they've kind of flamed out, whether it's Trey Sermon, whether that's Joe Williams, whether that's Jerick McKinnon. Oh, here's the list. I'm just going off the scars of my heart. Like, I didn't even get to see the list, but Tevin Coleman, who got released today as well. It hasn't worked. It just hasn't worked. Does that mean you stop? Kyle Shanahan, he ain't going to stop. He's the most stubborn guy in the NFL almost sometimes, and which is good and bad. But let me ask you this, Croc. Do you honestly believe they're not going to draft another running back in the top 4 rounds next year or the year after?
I wouldn't say that, but if you identify a guy that you feel can be like your factor back, your every down back, then by any means, you see him in the second round. Well, yeah, I wouldn't say first, but second round, 3rd round, 4th round, draft him. Like, do it. But my thing was when people were saying, oh, this is just Deebo Samuel had to play running back. They need the depth. You don't do that in the 3rd round. Not over a guy there. And again, being a dead horse, we've talked about this ad nauseum. Probably should stop now, but you got Nick Cross there. Go with that safety, that has really high upside over a running back that is just going to contribute to the room. And like y'all said, might not even really contribute right away. Might be in sweats on the sideline.
Go with
I have seen some people in the chat say, I see Shulo in there, says Deebo is 3rd down back. If Deebo Samuel is a 3rd down back, I'll take it.
So
just don't have him pass protect like he did against Dallas. That was
for those folks who are not watching on YouTube. So this is the quick and dirty version of Kyle Shanahan running back since 2017, as tweeted by Ari Mirov. Break it down quickly.
Peacock is missing the guy. Who's it missing?
Oh yeah, the new. Oh well.
No.
Oh, Capri Bibbs.
Capri Bibbs traded a 4th round pick for Capri Bibbs.
I always forget about Capri Bibbs. That was just a flushing a draft pick down the toilet. I don't know why they thought Capri Bibbs was worth anything more than
That's a Jeopardy question right there, man.
Yeah, so I'll add Capri Bibbs to the list. They traded a 4th-round pick for Capri Bibbs. Was not a factor on the roster. Of the underperformed category, they spent $30 million on Jerick McKinnon. He did tear his ACL, so he would have been at least useful. But even before he tore his ACL, I thought it was a weird move and an overpay for a situational type of a running back, and they gave him 3-down bell cow back money, which you shouldn't be doing in the first place anyway. And I didn't think Jerick McKinnon was that. Tevin Coleman, $10 million contract. Joe Williams, they traded up in the 4th round. He was cut after 1 year. Trey Sermon now, who they traded up for in the 3rd round. So it wasn't just a 3rd-round pick they spent. They spent, and I don't know what pick they used. I don't think it was a ton that they spent to get up, but it was a 3rd-round pick plus that they spent.
That was the pound the table, Kyle Shanahan. I can't go to sleep knowing we're not going to get him.
That was a Joe Williams pick.
Yeah,
that was just, look, some of these were early on and first-time head coach, first-time GM, and some growing pains. And I'd hope they learn from it because of their successes at running back have been Raheem Mostert, who was not drafted and not even brought in by this organization. That was a Chip Kelly move, right? He was already here. Matt Breida undrafted, Jeff Wilson undrafted, Elijah Mitchell 6th-round pick. And now we're seeing Jordan Mason, who's making the roster here ahead of guys like Trey Sermon, who was an undrafted free agent. So, I mean, you have to learn from it at some point. It's so unnecessary to be spending money, spending resources, spending high-end draft picks. And a late 3rd, even for Ty Davis Price, I didn't like the pick. You definitely don't spend a 3rd-round pick for a guy who's just a short yardage back who is, just a rotational guy. Now, if it's Alvin Kamara or something like that, if you get Frank Gore, it makes sense, right? And 3rd round, late 3rd is not that early. Like, that's okay to draft a running back. You better be good. And you better not have just drafted a 3rd-round running back the year before and have a 6th-round running back also that you drafted that was better than the 3rd-round pick. So even just the Brian Peacock GM manifesto about drafting running backs, I didn't like the pick, but especially the 49ers specific situation with what they've been able to do with later backs, what they've already done recently in the draft, made even less sense to draft a 3rd-round running back. So that I will
say, I've complained about this, and I'm done complaining about it now. It's over and done with. But they have done very well outside of that, right? Mm-hmm. So this is the one thing that we get to complain about because pretty much everything else that they do, it makes sense at the very least, except for the punter. Maybe Wisnowski. I know Peacock didn't care for that.
Yeah,
but I mean, outside of that, everything for the most part is like, okay, I can see why they did that, or okay, that was good value, even if it doesn't work out, right? Like Dante Pettis. Okay, you trade up for him. I see why they like him. He's loose. He's a terrific route runner. Has some run after catch ability. Oh man, he's a dynamic punt returner. The most punt returns for touchdowns in college football history. Is like, okay, I at the very least get it, even if it doesn't work out. The running back thing is the only thing that I can truly complain about.
We've got to move along here because got to get to some other things. And I love some of the stuff in the chat. I actually have another note here on the running backs here. Before we move along, we talk about Blake Hance, who the 49ers claimed that was cut by the Cleveland Browns. And I've got some insight there, a little scouting report. We'll see what John Chapman knows about Blake Hance and his abilities on the offensive line for the 49ers. And the practice squad is filling up. But it's almost time. It's almost here, the NFL season. And, of course, we all love this time of year. And if you're into sports, betting, or fantasy, you need a competitive edge to win. That's why we recommend the Elias Game Plan app. It's the ultimate sports betting and fantasy companion for NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball. If it sounds familiar, the name Elias as it comes to sports, right? The Elias Game Plan is the only sports app from the most trusted name in sports, the Elias Sports Bureau, the official statisticians of U.S. pro sports leagues, including the NFL. Their app lets you access team and player stats, head-to-head team comparisons, Elias Insights from the Elias Sports Bureau's research team, and it's your one-stop source for player news, league-validated player stats, team records. Perfect for preseason. Get those player previews to help you draft a winning team and team previews. And with new features like player injury analysis available all the time, you can take your game to the next level. The NFL season right around the corner, so don't wait. Download the Elias Game Plan app today. And right now I have a special offer. When you subscribe, get a 14-day free trial off a monthly subscription plan, but only if you use our promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Find Elias Game Plan sports betting app in the App Store, Play Store today, and use our promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Thanks again, everybody, for making Locked On 49ers your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, go check out the Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022, an 8-episode extravaganza to get you ready for the NFL season. The local team experts of the Locked On Podcast Network, plus a betting angle from Lee Sterling of Locked On Bets, all combining into one ultimate NFL preview. Search for Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022 in your Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Okay, good point here in the chat from Nick. And he asks, and the answer is no to his question, first of all. Nick asks, was Trey Sermon a Bobby Turner guy? No. Elijah Mitchell was the Bobby Turner guy. Matt Breida was the Bobby Turner guy. Bobby Turner's not around anymore. So Ty Davis Price was an Anthony Lynn guy. You know, that's what we're gaining from this whole situation. They might need to go a consultant role with Bobby Turner, and once the 5th, 6th round comes around, say, hey, Bobby Turner, who have you talked to on the phone 75 times? Who do you like? Who should we draft here at running back, or who do you like as an undrafted free agent? I think that's the way to go for the 49ers. Bobby Turner does have something. He's got something special as it pertains to running backs. He's the guy you should be listening to. And he's not in the building anymore.
No, he's gone, and it sucks. Yeah, Anthony Lynn's awesome, but Lynn's also really high on Jordan Mason. He was ranting and raving on him after training camp. Before the preseason, before we even saw him, he likes Mason. But yeah, the guy he wanted was TDP.
And I have said I actually really like TDP. I like the way he runs, and I think for what he is, right, this guy that has a little looseness to him, has a little bounce in his step, but also can run downhill. And he could push a pile 5 yards, has enough juice for a guy that's bigger. Again, he's not this super explosive back, but when he puts his foot in the ground and gets north right now, it looks good. So I can see why they like him, for sure.
Is he the fastest?
I think I came on here and said it. I was like, I see why they liked him. I still just wouldn't have drafted him right where they did.
Is he the fastest running back in the room now?
Elijah Mitchell.
You think Elijah Mitchell?
Elijah ran 4.3s. I don't know if he plays to 4.3s, but he's a 4.4 guy.
4.45. I think he plays to 4.45 speed.
And Ty Davis Price ran well, but he also cut crazy weight, and so I don't think that's going to be his playing weight. I don't think he wanted to. I think he wanted to be 220. He was 230 in college, got down to 2. He was actually lighter than Elijah Mitchell was running at the combine to run that 40 time. So I don't think, and he doesn't necessarily play to that either, but he's got a little bit more looseness than you'd think for a guy who was 230 pounds in college. So, he's running around 220. That's good. Keep some speed, but I think Elijah Mitchell's clearly the fastest and is more of the home run threat, but they don't have that Raheem Mostert home run.
Yeah. That's a little weird, right? For a team that it looked like they were truly identifying guys that just have this speed, and it worked. I mean, the offense was super dynamic with those type of backs back there. Like, why would you go away from that? Or at least not have one guy where it's just like, this guy is a burner. Because even Hasty, much as, people liked him, I like the way he ran. He was a 4.55 guy. Yeah. He wasn't a burner, even though he was smaller. So it's like, where's the burners? You had the Breidas, you had the Raheem Mosterts, and they had success in your offense.
I think this is the transition with Trey Lance. I think they want more 10, 11, 12, 13 play drives instead of that home run, whatever. I think Shanahan wants to manipulate the game clock, control. I think it's just the methodical progression. Whether it's going to work or not, I don't know, because you're not going to have any more 6-man fronts like we saw, with Jimmy in the playoff series. But I think that's the plan. Will it work? I don't know, because there's no more speedsters. You got John Chapman's running back there. Probably not ideal, but we'll see. Less Crocs. I'll say that.
Where did Pierre Strong go? Because that was the guy to me. It's like he was a one cut. He wasn't a guy. You didn't want him stopping his feet. But, I mean, outside zone, foot in the ground, get north. I mean, he could run. He could move. Like, that was the guy where I'm like, ooh.
Patriots, I think.
And he'd be a nice compliment, too. Elijah Mitchell and any other kind of bigger back that they have.
Yeah, it was Patriots in the 5th, I think, maybe early 5th round, something like that.
Yeah.
Blake Hance. The 49ers claimed offensive lineman Blake Hance from the Cleveland Browns. And last year he played all tackle. He played a couple games at left tackle, 150 snaps, about 450 snaps at right tackle. So 600 snaps last year, none of them in the interior, all of them at tackle. Now, the 49ers have a lot of players that can play tackle. Jalen Moore, Colton McKivitz, Daniel Brunskill's played in the past, hasn't since last year. Nick Zakelj was a tackle in college. He made the roster, which surprised me because I thought Poe was better, but they got Poe back on the practice squad. More on the practice squad in a minute. But are they telling us that maybe they're a little bit worried about Mike McGlinchey to start the season because they want so many guys that can play tackle, and they went out and got this guy in Blake Hance to play tackle? And John, what is your scouting report on Blake Hance if you've seen any of him?
It's not great. I'm just going to be honest. It's not great. He's played both sides, which I think they've struggled with because most of the players that they have at that tackle spot look best on the left. They don't have a lot of guys that are good on the right side. I really thought Jalen Moore was going to be the player that was waived today, not Hasty. But you look at the numbers and the pressures allowed, not great, very similar to kind of Brunskell's numbers last year, if you just compare like snap rates and pressure rates allowed. But I don't know, man. I'm not the biggest fan of this. I don't like him over really Colton McKivitz at right tackle. I would prefer to have McKivitz there. I think it's a depth piece. I think it's just a depth piece that they can see if it works. They didn't get a trade for Sermon, so they're just like, screw it, let's get another tackle in here.
Where is Eric Fisher at right now at this point in his career? Because he's still out there available. Obviously, he's a veteran. Do you like this guy over an Eric Fisher?
I don't like either one. I'll be honest. I prefer Fisher, but I would say no to both. This is grasping. If it doesn't work, I could see him turning relatively quickly. And so either he jumps in and catches on quick. We're not going to see him week 1 or anything like that. But if he doesn't, I think this could be a turnstile approach at that tackle position.
BSE in the chat says they don't trust Jalen Moore, and I wouldn't trust him after what I saw in that last preseason game. I liked what I saw from him as a rookie, though. I don't know where he is health-wise, but if they don't trust Jalen Moore, then why is he on the roster? Just because he was a 5th-round pick? He
should be guard. Jalen Moore should have been a guard since the day they drafted him. I don't know. They said he was going to be a guard, and they kept him outside. I think they're misusing him, and I don't like it, but I love his potential.
I thought he was going to be more in the mix with Banks and Burford sort of as one of the starting guards, and he was never really there in camp, and they pretty much clearly wanted it to be Banks and Burford at left guard and right guard. And so Jalen Moore kind of just is an afterthought. And if he's not going to even be a factor, and if they don't want him to play tackle, then I'm not sure why he's on the roster at this point. Looking at Blake Hance, so his PFF numbers are good run blocker, terrible pass blocker as a tackle.
Oh, that sounds like Kyle Shanahan guy.
Yep.
That's exactly what I said. That's what I told Jeff Lloyd. So what does this sound like? So bad pass block grades, pretty good run block grades. His best ball, according to Jeff Lloyd, the host of Locked On Browns, said his best ball last year was at right tackle than left tackle, but can play anywhere other than center, which is why they moved on from him, because they were down center and they needed depth at center. So they decided to cut a tackle instead. And some people around Browns land were a little bit surprised just because he started some games last year for him at offensive tackle, and those guys don't really get cut that often. And I asked him about the PFF grades because I haven't seen a lot of Blake Hance to know for myself. And I said, did that play out on the field, what those pre-PFF grades were? And he said, yeah, he doesn't really have much of an ass to anchor, is what Jeff Lloyd said.
Yeah. That sounds like McGlinchey.
Who it sounds like to me? This is the next Tom Compton.
It's so many of those guys. Now, the one thing I will say that I thought was interesting, he's from Northwestern, which we went through all 90 players and went through their high school. I think out of all 90 players, 82 were national, merit, whatever, or honor roll. That's important. So they want smart, they want versatile, and they want good run blockers. Everything else, just throw it to the wind. We'll see what happens. So he checks so many boxes. I don't think he's going to be around for a long time. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think this is going to be a lasting piece.
That's what I thought about Tom Compton. And this is the MO. He sounds like a Kyle Shanahan type. They like to bring in a veteran who's that backup. And so we'll see what happens if there's injuries. I would expect him to not play over Colton McKivitz. I'm with you. The tough, smart guy thing with Colton McKivitz, and he's at least, I think, earned enough to get the first shot at tackle if McGlinchey's not playing. But clearly they're a little bit worried about depth at tackle to me, which is why they brought in someone like Blake Hance. All right, next we will talk practice squad. Who made the practice squad for the San Francisco 49ers, and what are the moves that could possibly still be coming? Are you one of those people who thinks it's okay to drive stoned? What's the worst that can happen, right? You end up driving below the speed limit. No big deal, right? Well, the truth is your reaction times slow way down when you're high. You not only put yourself in danger, but everyone around you. Talk about a buzzkill. Stop kidding yourself. It's not okay to drive high. If you've been using marijuana in any form, do not get behind the wheel. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. All right, fellas. Good news here. Some of the players I was worried about not making it back to the 49ers were the top two. I thought that the 49ers that I would want back for the 49ers on the practice squad made it back to the practice squad. That was Jason Poe and Marcelino McCrary-Ball. And they did both get back and signed with the 49ers practice squad. One guy who did not make it back is, we talked about JaMycal Hasty. He was signed, or he was claimed by the Jaguars. Nate Sudfeld's with the Detroit Lions now. But Tariq Castro-Fields, 49ers sixth rounder. They cut a draft pick there. And I thought they could have cut multiple draft picks late from their draft. But and I don't remember who was the team that, let's see if I can find it real quick.
Commanders.
Castro-Field, the Commanders. That's right. Washington Commanders. Tariq Castro-Field was claimed by the Washington Commanders, so he will not make it back to the 49ers practice squad. The 49ers did officially put safety Jimmy Ward and linebacker Curtis Robinson on injured reserve, which meant they had a couple of roster spots open, and they brought back two players that were cut, tight end Tyler Croft. So they do have 4 tight ends now, and defensive lineman Jordan Willis, which puts them back to 10 on the defensive line. So those were the roster moves as of today. And I want to talk about safety. And Croc, obviously, this is right up your alley at safety, because the 49ers cut Dante Johnson, and I thought he might be the guy they brought right back the next day, and they didn't. And they actually signed Tashawn Gibson to the practice squad, but have not signed Dante Johnson to the practice squad. So is this the end of Dante Johnson? Because it seems like right now, and they still have some space on the practice squad. They might create some roster spots still. Who knows? But Dante Johnson was sort of a guy in the past that could shuttle back and forth from the practice squad. The way it's set up right now, they could protect someone like Tashawn Gibson, could be the 4th safety for him, and could still be up on game days, and they send him down to the practice squad, and they could keep protecting him that way and sort of have that extra 54th spot on the roster by shuttling him back and forth. If they feel like they need to. Is this the end for Dante Johnson, or do you think he'll be back?
I think he'll be back. He's not going away yet. Not that easily.
I think that's what the whole meeting tomorrow is. I think they're going to name him a new GM because he freaking has run this team forever. Dante Johnson's coming back. There's still spots left, and he might not even make the initial practice squad. Don't really care. He's sticking around, man. Yeah,
and so for the first time at tomorrow's press conference, by the way, Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, is going to have some availability, and Adam Peters is going to be available to media along with John Lynch. Are they up to something? Are the 49ers up to something? Are they going to announce maybe a succession plan? Adam Peters taking over as GM? Because John Lynch turned down those TV offers.
Right.
Or are they just trying to get him out in front so he can become GM next year?
Part of the new details, whenever they did the succession plan, the NFL changed that with the offensive coaches and GM to match up. Like whenever you have guys leave for the picks, the comp picks and all that stuff, you had to do a different reordering of your staff. I think that this is what it's about because he fills that new role of the co-GM. I think it's more in line with that. Because I think they're supposed to speak more. I think they're supposed to be available to the media more when they reclassified it. But we can still get this last couple days have been crazy. Let's keep it going.
I wouldn't be shocked by anything at this point when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers. They're going to give us a big story no matter what. All right, your guys' thoughts on the practice squad. Let me list off the players who have been signed back to the practice squad as of Wednesday evening. That is defensive lineman Alex Barrett, safety Tashawn Gibson, offensive lineman Alfredo Gutierrez, but he's part of the International Pathway Program, so he doesn't count toward the total of. And now is it 14 or 16? I thought it went. It is 16 still. I thought it went down to 14 for some reason. So 16, and 10 of them have to be first or second year players, and then 6 of those players can be veterans. Taylor Hawkins made it back to the practice squad. Quantrez Knight, good move. Tay Martin, good move. Marcelino McCurry-Ball, linebacker. We talked about Jason Poe. I want to see him get some snaps at center potentially while he's on the practice squad. Defensive lineman Akeem Spence, wide receiver Willie Snead, offensive lineman Keaton Sutherland, who I thought was awful and shouldn't even be on the practice squad necessarily. I didn't like anything I saw from him. No offense to the Sutherland family or Kiefer if he's related. Defensive lineman Kamoko Ture, which was sort of a surprise cut to me, and he didn't land anywhere else. He's back with the 49ers practice squad, so I think that's a coup. And then wide receiver Malik Turner. So it looks to me like they still need to fill out some of the younger players on the practice squad, but they've got their 6 veterans set on the practice squad, which makes me wonder about Dante Johnson. He's either got to come back to the 53 or they got to cut one of these veterans, I think, off of the practice squad.
Yeah. Needs to be a 53-man guy. He's just so versatile to me, and I know a lot of people are like, man, a guy that can come in a pinch and play every position in the secondary, and he's not bad. Like, he's not terrible. I think that's such good value.
I think his best position safety, and that's what they need right now. I think that's where his best fit is moving forward. I would love for him to be on the 53 right now.
Rick says Poe is going to be our fullback replacement after Juice leaves. That's why I thought Jason Poe, first of all, he played well in the preseason. And the fact that he started getting some earlier reps with Banks at left guard, I was like, oh, well, he made it. He did good job, Jason Poe. You made it. And his athleticism to be able to move around, not necessarily be a quote unquote fullback, but just, be a 6th offensive lineman off to the side. And it could actually catch the ball if you're tackle eligible, or, move around in the backfield. Remember when we saw Trent Williams in the Y position and rolling across the field and crushing guys against the Green Bay Packers, right? You could leave Trent Williams at left tackle and Poe's athletic enough to get out on the move and hit people in space and just do some fun things like that and be a valuable backup offensive lineman. Get him trained up at center. He's got big hands. He's built like a center. He's athletic. It would seem like he would be a natural fit at center. He's played center in college, so make sure he can back you up at all 3 interior positions this year, and then maybe it becomes a starter in the future, or maybe not. But I thought he was valuable in some of the things he could do. We've seen the videos of him. Looks like he has pure hands. I don't know if he's ever going to be a quote-unquote fullback, but yeah, he's a guy that you could move around in. And he's a fun player. And maybe I just liked him because he was fun and he didn't deserve a spot on the 53. But I was a little surprised that nobody picked him up after he was cut by the 49ers as well.
The size is a concern, and I think that's a big reason why he went undrafted. He doesn't fit the metrics. A lot of teams scout metric-based, where, like, these are minimums. The Colts are notorious for this. Like, if you're not 6'5" with 36-inch arms, like, it's just not happening. So I think some teams were out on him on that, and just the consistency factor. Like, there's a reason why they passed on him twice. He needs to develop, and I think he's going to be great. It's just consistency's not there yet.
We touched on this one a little bit yesterday, and I guess we could end it here. Do you think the 49ers should go after Tart? Because they have 3 safeties still. Tashawn Gibson's on the practice squad. They could call him up on game days. Dante Johnson's out there somewhere. But Tart did not make the Eagles roster, and he's still out there. It makes a lot of sense to me. Croc and I talked about it yesterday. John?
I love Tart. I love what he's brought to this team. A lot of players have referred to him as one of the smartest guys on the defense repeatedly. I respected the move of moving on. I feel like they chose Odom kind of over him, not so much. Everybody wanted to talk about Talanoa, but it was the special teams emphasis. I would prefer, if I could choose the starter next to Talanoa week 1, it would be Tart. That's who I would prefer. I don't think free safety is really his best role, but I think that he can do that. But we do a lot of split safety stuff. I would prefer Tart personally, especially I want a vet presence that knows this team and can get everybody set up. That's who I'd prefer to start week 1 over Tarvarius Moore personally.
We'll end on this one, guys. Tyrell says, Chap is Cap, Peacock is Thor, and Croc is Iron Man. What do you think? I think they nailed it. I think Tyrell gets a spot on my my scouting department.
I hate Cap. That's awful.
Oh, man. All right. Tyrell, go back to the drawing board on that one.
I'd rather be Ant-Man.
That would be a good nickname for Jason Poe.
There you go.
That would be a good. That's what we got to start calling them, Ant-Man.
It's insane that you would call someone who's over 6 feet and 300 pounds Ant-Man. But when it comes to NFL offensive linemen, that's just the way it is. Those guys are freaks. All right. Good stuff. John, I feel like we should have gone a lot longer with you, but this is how long our podcasts are. Maybe we'll jump on with you one of these days. Before we let you go, though, tell the folks where they can find you and tell the folks about the road trip that you're doing this year.
Yeah, just type in 49ers Rush wherever. We are YouTube. We're live. We go live all the time. But the main reason, that I want to push, or the main thing is, I'm all about community, and that's a big reason why I love y'all's show, the positivity. I hung out with Croc a handful of times. Still haven't hung out with Peacock. We got to set that up. But we get together at every single 49ers away game, multiple times. We're throwing not one, but two parties at every single away game this year. All you have to do is head over to 49ersrushroadtrip.com to get your tickets, tailgates. We do something the day of the game. We do something the night before the game. So if you travel to these games by yourself and you're like, man, I just love the 49ers, my family doesn't go with me, we got you. You party with us. We've got players coming out to some of these events, Navarro Bowman. We've just got a lot of stuff going on. Every city's different. Croc comes to a lot of these, if not all of them this year. I'm trying to get them at all of them.
I'll be there in Chicago, that's for sure.
So we're partying.
I'm excited about that. Like you said, going to the games by yourself. I actually don't care to actually be at the football game. I live in Arkansas. Like, I have no friends here. So when I watch football, I'm just watching football by myself, and it's hard to really get into it or get like super excited because it's just me watching the screen. But I like going to the games, especially the away games, and going to the 49ers Rush, meet up with Chapman, throw some shots back, have a great time. All the fans, it's awesome. Like, how many people come up to us, like they listen to Locked On, they listen to Chapman's podcast. Like, it's awesome. It's a great time, great experience, food, drinks, all that good stuff. So yeah, I plan on going to around 4 or 5 road games for sure. I'll definitely be at Chicago week 1.
We give away a lot of stuff, so that's probably the number one reason to come. You want some jerseys and stuff? We give away a lot.
Hang out with John, hang out with Croc. I got to make one of these too, so we can all hang out together. Get yourself some swag as well. And John, appreciate you jumping on Locked On 49ers with us. Let's do it again soon.
Yes, sir.
Thanks everybody for making Locked On 49ers your first listen. For your second, third, and fourth listens, make sure you stay right here on the network. We've got the Peacock and Williamson NFL show daily. Croc doing Locked On NFL Draft. Check out John at 49ers Rush, and definitely hit one of those road trip games. Croc and I back tomorrow right here, Locked On 49ers.